Yes, I am.
Okay, this time here, I'd like to call the county to order. We've got Secretary to order.
Mike New,
Here.
Len Doig,
Present.
Keith Cloutier,
Here.
Bob Crow,
Hey,
Russ Lockley.
Present.
Okay, let the record reflect that we have 5 members, so we can conduct business. The fire exits are to your rear, the exits to my rear take you into the building. So the only 2 fire exits are to the rear. This time here, I'd like to have an approval of minutes of December 1st, 2021 work session. Okay,
Second.
motion's made, motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, at this time here, I'd like to have the ratification of this Robert and Deborah Scanlon. How are we gonna do this? I wasn't here.
He's read all the material.
I
You
think
know, I can-
that.
Russ was here.
Yeah, given the circumstances, you can vote on it.
Okay. All right, okay, I'll read it out. Robin Deborah Scanlon, locations, assessors plot map 314, lot 91, 310 Lewis Farm Road, zoned R5. Applicant is seeking a special permit to construct a 32 by 50 feet in-law apartment to existing dwelling. Do I have a motion to ratify?
So moved.
Okay, Keith made it and seconded by Russ. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, the next one I have is Demers, Garrett. Says plot map 17, lot 3, 53 Isle Free Road, zoned RR2. Applicant is seeking to construct a shed 2 inches from the property line where 5 is required. 2 inches or 2 feet?
Yeah. Initially, he applied for 2 inches, but we granted him 2.5 feet, I believe.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
So that's gonna be correct.
No, that's the way it was originally advertised and submitted, so I can't change the agenda.
Well, it's not approved.
But that's not what it reflects in the decision. I have to leave an agenda the way it's been advertised, and he amended it the night of the meeting.
To 2 feet.
Yes,
But that's what's gotta be in the ratification.
it's what's in the decision. You're reading off the agenda. I couldn't change the agenda.
This is just the agenda.
All right, so I'm gonna read it correctly.
Correct.
So in the decision, it says the zoning board of review hereby approves the applicant's request for the dimensional variance to locate an 8 by 10 foot shed 2.5 feet from the side property line.
Where 5 is required.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Just real quick before we continue, they're having a little trouble hearing you in the back. If you
Yeah,
could
I just turned on my,
yeah. Okay, perfect.
okay.
And yeah, so on the agenda, it does say 2 inches, but in the decision, it reflects the 2.5 feet that
So
was
you're gonna make
decided.
a
That
correction on the ratification.
It
it is correct.
is
in the
correct,
decision.
but once we publish the agenda, we have to leave it the way it's been, because then there would be a problem or a controversy with advertising and stuff like that. Like I can't go back and change an agenda after the fact, but he did make and amend his application the night of the hearing, which is reflected in the decision.
But we can't approve 2 inches and go to
But
2.5.
It's
So
We're only
the
ratifying the decision that we made once. It
Okay,
shouldn't be-
we're only ratifying the
It's
decision.
not, we're not making,
which reflects
We're
the
not
2.5
ratifying the
feet.
correct.
So I'm gonna say it correctly. It should be 2.5 feet from the property line where 5 feet is required.
Which is reflected in the decision you are approving.
Okay,
We're good.
so 2.5 feet. I'm gonna have them
I make a motion, we approve it as amended.
as amended at 2.5.
Second.
Okay, second, made by Keith, seconded by Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, the next application is Paul Olivera, Assessors Plot Map 60, Lot 1.1, 1532 Main Street, Zone Village Rural Commercial. Applicant is seeking a special use permit for approval of a drive-through on an existing structure.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we ratify this decision.
Okay. Motion made
Second.
by Russ, seconded by Keith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, then we also have a Hill Woodlands Properties, LLC, owner Jim and Marion Hill is the applicant. Location assesses plot map 33, lot 6.11, 119 Hill Farm Road, zoned R2. Applicant is seeking a dimensional variance for 122 feet of road frontage. Lot 2 will have 103 feet of frontage, where 225 is required. Do I have a motion to, on this variance?
So moved.
All right, made by Russ.
Second.
By
Lenny.
Lenny. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, next application was the owner applicant Brian A. Williams and Stephanie Williams. Assessors plot map 323, lot 115, 110 Hamburger Road, zone R3. Applicant seeking a special use permit and a variance to construct a 1,475 foot square addition to an existing non-conforming dwelling. The addition will be 8.3 feet of relief from the northerly corner of the lot. Okay, do I have a ratification
So moved.
for this
Second.
application? Okay, made by Russ, seconded by Keith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Antonio Algelino and Cheryl Algelino.
Angelino.
Angelino, okay. Assessors plot map 104, lot 85, 562 Main Street, zoned R20. Applicant is seeking a special use permit to legalize existing two-family residential dwelling unit. I read that decision on that, and I just want to make it clear that that board voted to have each and every construction done to that, to create that additional unit, to be inspected by town inspectors. Am I correct?
You are.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so do I have an application, a ratification for that application?
So moved.
Okay, Mike.
Second
made Russ second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have. Okay, we're gonna move right to, that's all we have tonight, it's just,
We have new business and we have,
okay, let's go right to the Board of Appeals.
You have new business.
he wants to,
I want
I
to,
requested we do this appeal first because I'm conflicted on the other one.
okay,
And
okay, can I have,
proposal.
Proposal.
David A.
Let's see, no, actually, it's up to John to present the application and Gary.
Oh, you have to,
Get out of one, get
Get into the Board
Oh,
of
I'm
Appeal.
sorry. We have to open up at this time here the Coventry zoning board of appeals for David Del Pozo and Claudette M. Del Pozo. Assessors plot map 32, lot 103, 11 Kennedy Drive. Okay, at this time here, I'd like the secretary to read in the appeal to the record.
under the Coventry Zoning Board of Appeals, it's in re David A. Del Pozo and Claudette M. Del Pozo, AP 32, lot 103, 11 Kennedy Drive. Appeal of zoning enforcement officer's notice of violation for the operation of an outboard motor repair business where not allowed.
Okay, is the individual here? Could you please step up to the podium? Would you please give your full name and address?
David A. Del Pozo, 11 Kennedy Drive, Coventry, Rhode Island.
Okay, raise your hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth in front of this board?
Yes.
Okay. I understand, well, you heard it, that the town believes you're running a business at this residence?
I'm not running any businesses.
Okay, you're not running any business, okay. Kerry, what do you have on the information in this application?
So I'll just start with my testimony that in fall of 2020, you need me to swear me in? Do you need me to be at the podium?
I'm sorry?
You need to swear me in, and do I need to be at the podium?
Yes, I do. Okay. I'm gonna have the young lady stand at the podium, please. Give your full name and address,
It's Carrie Kowalski, 1675 Flat River Road, Coventry, Rhode Island,
and you're here in what capacity?
zoning enforcement officer.
Okay, you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth in front of this board?
I do.
Okay, please present.
In the fall of 2020, I'd received several complaints between the month of October and November regarding a potential business being run out of 11 Kennedy Drive, specifically an outboard motor business. At the time, I didn't have any proof, pictures or advertisements or anything stating that there in fact was a business being run out of that property. Several more complaints had come in, and then Mr. Del Pozo had actually come in to speak about putting a garage up on the side of his property. While Mr. Del Pozo was there, inquiring about his setbacks, I said to him that I had received several complaints about an outboard motor business being conducted at that property. And he said he was not running any type of business. If anything, he had a hobby where he likes to tinker around or whatever with outboard motors. So I explained to him that due to the amount of complaints that I had received, that if I came across that in fact he was running a business, he was not allowed to conduct the business at that property, and that I would issue a notice of violation. And he was adamant he was not conducting a business on that property. Some months later, he came in again because they were still in the process of getting the permits ready for this garage. And Russell Crossman, who's also the director of planning and zoning, also spoke with Mr. Del Pozo with regard to the complaints about an outboard repair motors business being run out of that property at 11 Kennedy Drive. So Mr. Del Pozo was warned a couple of times the business was not allowed. Things were kind of quiet, and then I started to get complaints again. And finally, in the beginning of October, I received multiple pictures, which are in your packets, of different people, different vehicles, different days of people dropping off outboard repair motors to be serviced. And it was about that time that I was able to locate his business ads on Craigslist. If you look at those ads, which are also part of your packet, he very blatantly claims that he repairs all outboard motors. The service offered on major brand outboards under 24.5 horsepower. Thanks for checking out my ad. Dave, his phone number. And if you look up at the top, there's dates of when that ad was available. So I printed out those ads along with the papers. I had a discussion with Director Crossman, and therefore we issued a notice of violation. There was no point of going back and forth. I had all the proof I needed right there in black and white. So then Mr. Del Pozo, with, understandably so, was upset and wrote a response, which is also in your packet as well. So we're here tonight with him appealing my notice of violation.
Any questions from the board members? Okay, how about the solicitor?
I just want to make sure that the board understands what their job is tonight.
Please.
It's not the town's. The burden of showing proof is with the applicant, with Mr. Del Pozo. It's not with the town. So he has to show that the town officer, Ms. Kowalski, acted arbitrarily and capriciously when she, and without any basis, substance, when she issued the notice of violation. So it's up to him to show that they were wrong when they did that. It's not up to us to show we were right when we did it. So he is the one that has to show some proof that he isn't doing a business there. I just want to make sure you
Okay.
understood that.
What also I have noticed that anytime we do an appeal, the board members are making the decision 100%. Any legal opinion we get is strictly a legal opinion. The decision has to be done by members of the board with documentation. Okay? All right, does any board members have any questions of our town solicitor? Town zoning enforcement?
Terry, the pictures were sent to you by a neighbor or something?
Yes, sir.
But the advertisement you obtained,
Yes, I did, both of them.
now that's the one that shows the motors.
Yes, there's actually two of them there.
The outboard 9 horsepower, $899 in Coventry.
Yep, that's the first one. And then there's a follow-up one that says outboard motors, $399, Coventry, Rhode Island. So if you look, they're actually two separate ads.
Okay, 399. That list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 9 motors for sale. And then it also suggests or lists some trade-ins expected. Service on 25 horsepower and smaller major branch, 2-stroke often. For an appointment, call 401-996-3918. Thank you for looking, Dave. So this is definitely an ad.
Correct. And if you look, it was posted September 18th, 2021.
Okay. All right. What else have any questions? All right, John, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I have nothing more to add at this time.
Okay. Carrie, I'm going to ask you to take a seat since nobody has anything else. Okay, sir, I'm going to ask you to come back to the podium as you realize you're sworn in. Okay, you have heard what the town memberships staff has given us for information. What is your take on this?
Well, I can answer each one individually. The picture which she finally showed me, well, not finally, I didn't even think to ask. But the last time I was there, I asked her to see what pictures. And those pictures show friends and relatives. Okay. And the motors that I put in the ad, I kept getting red flagged for having more motors, I guess, than the average person would have or something. I don't know, but at any rate.
Okay, what's a red flag?
Red flag is when you put an ad on Craigslist, people can red flag you for a number of reasons, but they don't always tell you what that reason is. So I happened to run into a fellow that had been through the same thing. And he said, don't put it under personal stuff. Put it down under dealer. You won't get red flagged anymore. He says, but make sure you put in there that you offer service. Well, so I just followed his directions. Well, guess what? I didn't get red flagged again.
All right, you're talking about
So that's
advertisements,
the advertisement.
but you did advertise these motors for sale.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I don't understand. You advertised them for sale.
That doesn't make a business. That means I've got motors I want to get rid of. I have a number of boats I have stored elsewhere.
To me, it's a business. I ain't gonna lie to you. You're selling 9 motors and you're willing to take in trade-ins. That's a business.
Looking for parts to fix other motors. I have a ton of motors.
Well, then you better get a
Sure.
place to do this.
Well, I can't work a regular schedule. I'm disabled. So it's kind of hard.
That's not our problem.
No, it's not your problem. But when I asked Miss, I forget her name, but when I asked the young lady, what constitutes, how many motors could I sell from my home? I got no answer. What makes it a business? I got no answer. And as far as last fall, she, pretty much everything she said is exactly true. But I didn't understand it as a warning. I understood it as somebody thinks you're running a business there. No, I'm not running a business there. And that was that. Then the next thing I know, I get a thing in the mail a year later. I got no warning, no written warning, no verbal warning. Nobody showed up on my piece of property. You can take all the pictures you want of somebody's possessions and accuse them of selling, doing service out of customers. I don't do that. I can't do that. You can't bring me a motor and expect to get it back in any kind of reasonable time, because sometimes I can't touch it even for a week or two, depending on where my back is. I've had 3 major surgeries and I'm headed for a 4th. So I can't do that kind of stuff. All I want to do now is get rid of all my old stuff I'm paying places to store it. And little by little, I've been putting them together and selling them. Most of those motors I've had for over 10 years. And any of the new motors I get, and one of the pictures shows a young lady there, she brought me a motor for parts. I bought the most, I can fix these two other motors. They look nice, but they're junk. I can fix these motors. That's it. That's my hobby.
Okay, it's not, a hobby does not maintain. You're in a gorgeous resident, you've got a beautiful home. You're in a gorgeous residential neighborhood. It's not fair to the neighbors to have outsiders coming in and you advertising motors for sale. Oh, it's just like advertising cars for sale.
So I sold 6 motors last year.
All right, well,
Now, is that too many motors for somebody to sell?
yes.
Why and where?
Well, you
Please
got
explain
6
that to
last year and you got 9 advertised here.
Yeah, but are they sold? I have them all.
No, that's not it, but you want to sell them. You have
Right.
them advertised. So, I mean, it's a business. It's a regular business. If I was in the business next door to you, had a license to do retail sales and motors, I'd be very upset that I have to compete against you.
Well, I can understand what you're saying, but 6 motors a year is hardly a dealer.
Well, it is. It's not, it's a business.
Well, is 2 motors a business?
I think maybe if you did 2 a year, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
but,
I have about
but
10
what you've
motors.
done is 6
Actually,
and then
I've got
this 9 and then advertise it. I'm not going to argue with you. To do it, trade-ins and phone calls and everything else. You are running a business out of that residence, which is illegal. Simple as that. I mean, whether I want to run mini cars or whatever, it's a residential district. It does not deserve the neighbors to be exposed to a business.
Okay.
Simple as that.
But thank you for explaining that. An explanation I couldn't get until now.
Okay. Now, I'm going to open it up to the members to see how they feel about it. Mike?
I'm aligned with you. It's a business.
Okay.
And without a permit.
Or anything else? I mean, I wouldn't want it next to me. I wouldn't want it next door to my house. Lenny?
I agree with his.
Keith?
I agree. He's conducting commerce from a residential building.
Right. Okay, Russ?
I agree to uphold her decision.
Okay. I'm just going to check with legal.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I think there's substantial evidence on the record presented by the,
You admit that you placed these ads, correct?
Yes.
yeah, I think he's admitted to
Yeah.
buying and selling motors. And yes, some of the motors are his, but he's accepted other motors for parts, and that kind of contaminates the purely personal part of it.
Excuse me, I need to fix the motors to make them
Right.
sell it.
Right.
So I can't buy motors for parts? I'm just trying to understand this.
what it is, the biggest problem is exposing your neighbors to a business atmosphere.
Okay.
They're there to rest, sleep, and watch Sunday football or whatever they like in their own private residence, not to be exposed to a business. And that's, I mean, I think it's black and white. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay. I'm following you now. I'm understanding. But why didn't I get a written warning? Why did I just suddenly get a fine in the mail?
Okay. The fine is how much?
It's 500. It's $500.
One time?
Because he appealed, it stopped the clock on the accruing.
Okay, what has it accrued to?
Just the $500 because he
Just
chose to
$500.
appeal. Yep.
So if we decided to lower that to $300, I don't believe the board had any problem. Do we?
No, you have the discretion to do that.
Discretion on the board. How does the board feel? We've done this in the past. You have been cautious and lowered, but if we find out that you're selling again, it's going to go right back up and it's going to be a full fine.
Right. Okay. I appreciate you giving me a break on that.
Right?
Was there a warning?
I just have one question. Why do I have to pay $200 to come up here and appeal this?
That's the rules of the town.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
not a lawyer.
was there a warning from Kerry?
As I stated in my testimony of October and November 2020, when he came in to seek the information regarding the installation of the garage on his property for the setbacks, I did explain to him that I had received several complaints about running the business. So I constituted that as a written warning. And Mr. Crossman, when they were following through with the rest of the building permit and the plans, also brought it up to Mr. Del Pozo as well, is that we had received several complaints as well. So in theory, he received 2 verbal warnings.
All right, so he received 2 verbals,
Excuse
but
me.
he didn't get nothing in writing.
No, sir.
And excuse me, and I also don't recall ever speaking to Mr. Crossman. But
All right, we're being generous. We're just gonna do it at 300, if the board agrees. It's not my decision. At $300, or they might agree to full 500. I don't know. That's gonna be completely up to the board. All right, and, but we do not, I can tell you right now, want to hear or see any more business operation of repairing motors.
I can still work on my own stuff, all right?
Work on personally your own. You know, but, you know, and I'm going to ask you to be courteous, you know, not to do this during the evenings on your own
I don't.
and not to do it on weekends on your own. Even if, you know, and the biggest thing is being courteous to your neighbors. That's a big, big thing. They're there in a residential area and, you know, somebody might do repairs on outside motors all week long and he just doesn't want to do this, hear this during the weekends or at night. And they should be able to rest easy.
I understand.
Okay. All right, I'm going to ask you to take a seat, please. All right, how does the board feel on this? You think 300 is too weak?
I'm struggling with the fine because there was no warning in writing.
There was no written.
We're not required under the zoning ordinance to issue a written warning. Specifically, if we have sufficient evidence, which I did.
Okay, that's the reason why I am suggesting we lower the fine. And he's already paid 200 to be here tonight. That's why I'm saying go down to 3. And it's being, you know, I am upset with him just doing this, thinking he could do this, you know, just do it and advertise it and everything else. So I don't think that's something that we should just, unless we do a fine, I don't think we're going to have anything to stand on the next time he comes up to us. And The reason why I suggested the 300. Lenny, how do you feel?
I'm struggling with the idea of reducing the fine.
Okay,
That's what fines are for.
that's correct. Okay. Russ, how do you feel?
I don't really have a problem with the 300. Like you said, he's paid 200 already. 300's, I think that's generous on our part, and it kind of covers the spirit of the whole thing of the fine of $500.
Keith?
I'm with Russ. I agree with his reasoning. And yours, the 300, I think is agreeable, amenable.
Okay. Mike, I'm going to come back to you.
Yeah, so if the guidelines don't require to give a warning, then we need to stay with what Carrie's get out there,
You're okay with the 300?
500.
The 500, you want a total 500?
Yeah, I mean, if the rules say there's no warning that needs to be given, we need to abide by the rules.
Right. What I'm saying, no, we can lower it because he's already.
We have the rights to drop it.
Lower? Yes.
We do.
We do.
And
Doesn't mean you have to.
doesn't mean you have to. I'm not saying, I'm just saying he's already paid 2
He paid you to just come here tonight?
be here tonight.
Appeals have a $200 appeal fee that needs to be paid at the time of appeal, appeal filing, which he did. In other circumstances, just to give you an idea, Mike, I do send out a written, if somebody had a pool without a fence, I send them a letter. But because there was 2 previous conversations,
You felt that was best.
I felt that was sufficient.
Does that escalate if there's a second offense, Kerry? Does the
Does
fines,
the fine go up?
does the fines escalate?
I believe I'm capped in the ordinance. But however, once it hits that process, I send it right to the solicitor's office for prosecution.
Okay.
All right,
Okay, so
Lenny,
then, I mean, that's fine. I'll go with the 300 then.
Okay.
The only thing I want to, maybe somebody can put on record or clarify this for me though, is how is this going to be policed as far as him conducting his personal repairs? And then if I get a complaint 6 months from now, I mean,
I would say point blankly, this board, I feel, by doing this, is putting him on his word. And I don't believe, maybe it's just me, that tough and that stringent. But I think at that time, then you go right to the police department and the town council and solicitor and let them enforce
So
it.
if I may say, Kerry brings up a good point. As far as personal, we stated that his personal motors, how do we identify his personal motors?
right. I mean,
Do we have
if 6 months from now, he decides to sell 5 of his personal motors on Craigslist again, and I get another complaint. I'm not giving anybody a hard time. I'm just trying to line this up so that we have a better idea of where we go from here.
Because he stated that he had 10 boats earlier. And now he already sold 6 last year and he has 9 more for sale.
Does he need to move them off site to sell them?
That was the ideal.
I think I don't think we want the traffic in the
That's
neighborhood.
correct. That might be the solution. That even his personal would have to be moved off site.
See, the problem you have one neighbor that sees one motor being sold.
Yeah.
They're going to complain. And Carrie's going to have to go down or get the police. Just move them off site. Shouldn't be doing it.
Any further transactions will have to be held off site.
Okay.
Okay? Is everybody comfortable with that now?
Yeah.
Any
business
further
is-
transactions will be held off site,
The business ceases immediately,
ceases immediately,
and any transactions would be
Offsite.
off site.
off site, and the fine would be reduced to 300.
Should we get an inventory of what's there to be liquidated or?
I think, am I on or off?
We're on now.
Okay. Key fact in this case is the ads on Craigslist and the foot traffic. I think he can continue to work on his own personal motors as long as he does it inside his garage. So if he wants to fix it, take it to a marina shop and sell it there, that's fine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just you can't have a retail establishment in your home.
I
So,
agree.
Yeah.
All right, so all sales will have to be performed off-site. Okay, Kerry?
Yes.
Anyway, all right, now I'm gonna do a roll call vote on
Do we,
that.
do we have to let the other stop?
Oh, yes. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this appeal? Please step up to the podium. Please give your full name and address.
Ryan Hennessy, 6 Deerfield Road, Coventry.
Spell your full name.
RYAN, excuse me?
First name and last name, please.
RYAN, last name HENNESSEY. My question is,
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in front of this board?
I do.
Okay.
My question is I'm in business for myself. I live in the same neighborhood. I have a sign in my front yard that says Ryan Hennessy for carpentry. Is this because I'm
You do not
advertising?
perform the work
I perform the work in the neighborhood.
and the name.
hold on one second. Hold on one second. This is outside the scope of the inquiry. for this
Yes, but
evening.
this
You
is,
can see the zoning enforcement officer in her office and ask her that, but we're not here to give you advice on
okay,
whether
so
or
he's
not.
doing this as a hobby,
No,
right?
we're
that
not.
you guys are
We
saying.
can't talk
Do you
about it.
have any facts to offer in the case before the zoning board?
Yes, because you guys didn't even really give him any warning or anything, so I
Right.
want
Do
to
you
know.
have any information regarding the motors being repaired and sold at?
No, but you have mentioned
Okay.
about the garage that he got approved. That was supposed to be
Right, that
being
we're
built.
not here to talk about your case. We're
I'm
talking about
about
Mr.
his though.
But you don't have any information to offer the board.
I
Do you
was
have any-
interested in doing the work at his house. That's already approved and been permitted.
Okay. All
Is
right.
this okay to continue or is it not? Is my question.
The garage being built is not up for debate tonight.
Well,
After
she
the-
brought it up
Mr.
3
Hennessy.
times today.
Mr. Hennessy, after the meeting tonight, you can have a quick meeting with her. She'll be able to direct you. Maybe you can make an appointment to get out and talk to her tomorrow or sometime, but it's not, you can't bring it up right now.
This is strictly selling, it's a business. And we can't,
I understand where you're coming from, but she'll be able, we can't deal with this now. It's just not proper. It's just not how we do business.
okay, thank you. Okay. At this time here, I'd like to have
Reopen the,
roll call vote on the appeal. Yes to enforce, no not to, and yes to enforce with a $300 fine
and stipulations.
Stipulation.
as a stipulation. Okay, Russ, I'm going to start with you.
Approve with stipulations.
You want yes to enforce the fine with the stipulation.
Mhm.
Okay, I also vote to uphold the zoning enforcement officer. Keith,
I vote to uphold also.
Letting,
I vote yes to uphold.
uphold. Mike, okay. Application is upheld with $300 fine. Okay, next appeal we have, do we have another one?
No.
No.
You have to,
Go back to new business now.
Okay,
I have a conflict. I have to excuse myself.
Can we conduct business without solicitor?
No, you have him, he's in via Skype.
Oh,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, can you close out the Board of Appeals and reconvene under
okay,
regular?
this time here, I'd like to close the Coventry zoning board of appeals and reconvene as a Coventry zoning. And I'm gonna have the secretary please read into the application, the report from the
The owner and applicant is the town of Coventry, but the town of Coventry is the owner. Watershed Solar Development is the applicant. Location is AP 7 and 15, lots 37, 96, 97.1, and 97.2, 451 Arnold Road. Zone is business park. Applicant is seeking a dimensional variance for lot coverage. The proposed lot coverage for the project is 21%, where 15% is allowed.
Excuse me, before we proceed, can we just confirm that Attorney Farside is with us? Are you connected?
Good evening. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. This is for the record, this is Joe Farside. I'm Special Environmental Counsel to the town on landfill matters. A pleasure to be with you this evening.
Okay, thank you. The attorney for the town of Coventry?
I'm the attorney for the applicant, Mr. Chairman, Thomas Cronin,
All right.
1070 Main Street, Coventry, Rhode Island.
So you're attorney for the town of Coventry.
No, this fella is.
He's the
On Skype.
attorney.
What?
I'm the attorney for Watershed Solar Development, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay, that's what I meant. Okay,
He's the attorney for the town. Yeah.
the applicant is the town.
No.
The applicant is Watershed Solar Development. The owner is the town. They're working in conjunction.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So Cody, Mr. Russell Mayman from Watershed Solar Development is also on the Zoom. If he pops up.
Is it?
Yeah, okay. Sure. Thank you. Russ, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayman had a brush with COVID, didn't want to appear tonight and, spread it around Coventry. So,
We appreciate that.
yeah, and we made arrangements with the staff to have him up here this way.
Cool.
Okay. May I proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Please, I'm sure the attorney's name and address and everything else. Okay. Oh, yes, Mr. Cronin. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth in front of this board?
I do.
Okay, I thank you.
Thank you, John. So you heard the meets and bounds descriptions and street addresses, but this is the former town landfill on Arnold Road. I think everybody probably know it that way better than any other description I could offer. You have seen yourselves, without a doubt, that it has been capped in 2020. It's been capped with a geosynthetic material. As part of that capping procedure, a plateau or a flat top on top of the landfill has been established. And as part of the closure plan, it is anticipated that this plateau on top of the closure will be the site of a solar array. So that's kind of the background of that. With me, I have Mr. Mayman, who you met briefly from Watershed Solar Development, and Nicole Borowski from GZA, the engineers who both closed the landfill and are designing the solar installation. So the piece of property is 28, almost 29 acres. It's currently landfill vacant. Town uses it a little bit for storing some supplies. It's zoned business park. There aren't any structures on the site other than the synthetic cap on the landfill and a temporary 7-foot fence around the property. The proposal is to install a 4.9 megawatt AC ground-mounted solar array on the flat area on top of the landfill. The flat area on top of the landfill, which is described as having less than 3% grade, it's not completely flat, right, for drainage, obviously, is about 5.2 acres. The frontage on Arnold Road is 1,519 feet. And the access, utilities, all the connections for this will be over that gravel road. So that's going to stay the same. And that will come up a few times during the presentation. There really aren't any structural changes going on on this property. The way it is now is going to stay the same, with the exception of we're going to add those solar panels on top of the landfill itself. So the gravel road will be the entrance and the exit. That's where the utility connection will be as well. That road will be maintained and gated once the fence goes up.
Okay, I'm going to interject one thing because I'm looking at the number of people here and we got bit in our rear end with the windmills, just like this. Am I correct, Russ?
We didn't get a lot of people show up, but we certainly got a lot of people upset when they started putting them up.
That's correct. Now, I'm going to, and the big thing was, your testimony that you're giving tonight is going to be part of the decision. Because they stated that just because they gave testimony, that was not part of the decision. I'm going to make your testimony tonight part of the decision for yes or no.
I would
You
assume.
probably assumed that. That's what
Right,
I did.
I assumed that you would adopt it. but-
I did too, but I was told no, that
Okay.
wasn't the case.
Well,
I don't see how.
that won't stop me from going forward, Mr. Chairman.
No, I didn't think so.
Okay.
But I just wanted to
Sure.
put it on the record.
Sure.
Okay.
To the east of this site is the Cal Chemical building across the street, across Arnold Road. To the south is Center of New England's own business park as well. To the west is vacant land, zone business park. And to the north is an R20 residential across Arnold Road. You could see just the edge of that neighborhood on the top of this map to the north. So this proposal has been through a few stops before it landed in front of you. It has town council, been presented to the town council. The town council has approved the lease agreement contingent on us getting all the approvals necessary. I've been before planning for pre-application, and we received the master plan approval before planning on December 15th, 2021. We'll have to go back to planning for preliminary plan review, which is another public hearing, and then final approval. So we're just about in the middle of this process with the town. As the land belongs to the town, this project does not require a special use permit pursuant to the town's zoning ordinances. So we're just here for the variance, as was mentioned in the introduction. So we're looking for a dimensional variance. The usable portion of the plateau on top of the closed landfill is about 5.2 acres. To put solar panels to fill that area to get the maximum amount of output from the panels would be about 21% lot coverage. 15 is allowed, so it's an increase. Despite there being an increase in the lot coverage to 21%, the setbacks 15 feet from, say, the edge will be maintained all the way around the solar array. So there's no setback relief requested. It's simply the coverage. And the reason is that this is the way it was designed. The flat area was designed to support these solar panels, and we want to maximize the use of the available area. And that will increase the return to the town because it'll produce more power. So there wouldn't be, if you didn't grant the variance, there wouldn't be any other use of this. It would just be synthetic impervious surface. Just to give you a flavor of what this will be, so we can't drive anything through that closure, right? It's impervious now. It's designed to be impervious. There'll be no penetration. So what it is a concrete ballast block.
Slab line grade.
Excuse me?
Slab line grade.
It's pretty much, right. And then the solar panels are attached to those. So it's closure material, concrete slab, the panel on top of that, And the fence will go around in the areas which can be established for they're going to pound the
Now,
fence
the
posts.
whole area where the solar panels going is going to be a concrete slab or just concrete slabs underneath the legs of the solar panels?
Just underneath each panel.
Underneath each?
Yeah, they're not, the DEM closure design wouldn't allow us for us to pave over the top of the landfill.
It's gotta breathe.
Yeah, so there are methane, to your point, Mr. New, there are methane valves, for lack of a better, outlets.
Right.
Those will be in the field, right? Those will be maintained where they are. They won't be disturbed. If you look closely at the plans, they're delineated on the plans, so that those spaces are reserved, being currently used, and that'll be maintained as well. So that's an excellent point. There are a lot of panels, 9,800 panels. They'll be less than 12 feet high. So that includes the slab, the panel, the 10 to 15 degree tilt. They're fixed, they won't move. They'll be pointed in a southerly direction, which I think is towards the business park area. So one area just of interest is if you looked at this map to the top left, the town uses some of that area currently and will continue to use some of that area as a staging for materials, sand, fill, topsoil, things like that. That will not be fenced in. So that's going to continue to be used by the town DPW. It'll just be the solar area that is going to be fenced in. There's a cell tower to the southeast corner of the property. That'll be fenced in with the project. There'll be a double lock gate there so that they can gain access and their cell tower as well. I have met with Kevin McCann in central Coventry to discuss these plans. He's currently reviewing them with the state fire marshal. We'll have that information back for a preliminary plan before the planning board. He didn't have any immediate concerns or we would address them, but I just want to let you know that we have reviewed it with him. He didn't have any particular. So no water or sewer connections are required here. The DEM has approved the closure, and so the drainage will stay the way it is now. No additional drainage, no diminishment in drainage. It'll stay just the way it is. I'm sorry to be repetitive, but I'm trying to cover the stuff we normally talk about and just say that there's no real change to it. There's no lighting associated with the project, and there's not anticipated to be any significant traffic at all once construction is complete. It'll be maintenance once in a while kind of thing. We did receive contact from someone who had some concerns, John Ruzzo, who owns 599 Arnold Road, directly to the east of the project. He's concerned with, I had some discussions with him. I should start with that, right? I can't read his mind. I had some discussions with him. He's concerned about the impact of the side of the landfill near his property. And he essentially has decided that his main concern is the future value of his property and things like that. As a result, he didn't want to express his concerns before the zoning board. He's going to take them to the tax assessor and try to work with her on how this might affect the valuation of his property. So I have with me, as I mentioned, Russ Mayman from Watershed Solar Development over here somewhere in the screen, and Nicole Morosky from GZA. If you have any questions about the project or about why we're requesting the increase of lot coverage from 15% to 21%, please let me know, and I'll have the appropriate person answer
I have a question on
concerns.
the buffer zone.
Sure.
Are you going to maintain a buffer zone between Arnold Road and this, and then also those commercial condos that you were just talking about, Russell? You're going to put up like pine trees. 'Cause we've really been destroyed on this too.
We can't put anything up on the landfill property.
Yeah.
So, I hate to repeat myself because I know these meetings go on too long, but we can't make any physical structural changes. If we made any improvements, like you're mentioning, they would have to be off-site. So in other words, there's no
Where you
room
going off-site? Somebody else's property? Or
Yes.
The town's property?
somebody else's property. No,
So
no,
you'd have to put it on somebody else's property. You
Right.
wouldn't have room to put it on yours, or you're not allowed to plant anything because of what was there.
I think it's not so much not allowed, it's just designed, the closure was designed this way. And although the solar array is part of that closure, the solar array isn't going to change the way that the landfill is closed. That's the primary activity at this site, Mr. Chairman, is that we're going to maintain that closure in a proper way so that it maintains itself for a number of years. The solar array is designed to help us as a town pay for that maintenance of that landfill over a number of years.
I agree, but any solar project is required to have a buffer zone.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, Mr. Chairman. Are you talking about a vegetative buffer zone or a
Yes.
setback?
No, a vegetated buffer zone.
You have something to offer? Well,
You can't do it on the landfill because then you're going to obstruct the license. There's a license for that landfill. There's a reason they call it a closing. Yeah, it's closed and you can't. They don't want you to touch it.
Yes, so the problem with,
Please give me your name and address.
my name first.
Yeah.
My name is Nicole Morawski. It's NicholeMurawski, and my address is 1588 Main Street in West Warwick.
Okay, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in front of this board?
Yes.
Okay.
I
All
do.
right, well, my problem is we require a vegetated buffer zone around a solar installation. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, now you're telling me that since this has already been through the closure statement, they don't have to put a buffer zone.
Yeah, so as a landfill, the property is subject to what's called an environmental land use restriction, an ELUR. And as part of that, no planting is allowed on the site under state regulations. Technically, if you wanted to go all the way, it's already planted. So anything out, the landfill cap itself is synthetic and you can't plant in plastic. And even if you could, it's not allowed because the penetration through the cap is a pathway for water to enter into the waste and spread contamination. Outside of that, the site is already vegetated. There's a very small swath of grass between Arnold Road and the landfill itself. That has to be grass because if you have, again, trees with roots, they will backtrack into the landfill or could potentially damage your sidewalk. It's a very small area
Okay,
of
that I
grass,
didn't.
10 feet.
So we're afraid of disturbing what we've capped.
Yes. And then the other areas of the site are vegetated. Where you see the pond at the north end of the site, there's all trees and shrubs all around that like natural vegetation that was not touched as part of this project. And on the southern and western slopes, there's all, again, bushes, trees, and shrubs that exist on the property and outside the property that weren't touched and not cleared. So the site kind of is what it is. There's not a lot you can do with a landfill property, and that's why the town had cited it for solar in the original closure design.
I don't disagree, don't get me wrong. But I would like something in writing that vegetation we cannot put in because it would disturb the cap. I just need it in our, that we asked the question and we were told this, all right?
Violation.
Right, you know? Because all these things come up after the fact, you know?
So with that being said, what is the impact of all the construction going to go on and the impact of that cap?
So from today, there should be no impact. like the impact has already taken place. Between 2014 and 2020, the site was heavily wooded in 2014. The site was cleared. The landfill area was clearly identified. Soil was brought in to create slopes and gradients that meet state capping requirements. Part of that was lightly contaminated soil that actually paid for the closure. It generated funds to pay for it. Once those grades were met, the synthetic cap was installed and all site work is done. So at this point, there should be no ground disturbance. Everything's going right on top of that cap as it sits, and a concrete pad is going to be poured for the transformer on top of the existing landscape area. There should be no physical changes to the property other than placing the solar on top.
So the vehicles will be able to drive up on top of the mountain and put the concrete blocks in place. And so we don't want that turf is strong enough to hold that stuff up.
Yep, right now there is a 6 to 8 inch thick 57 stone driveway, which you can see very faintly underneath those panels. It's going to be there throughout the construction. It has a turning radius for it's a lull that they'll set the panels with to turn around. And there is certain ground pressure allowed on the cap itself to go beyond that with individual pieces. So that's how they'll set it all up there. And as they work their way out, they just kind of set the panels over the road to, use the site to its potential. They back their way out and everything stays as is.
How are you going to transfer the power from the mountain into the infrastructure of the grid system?
Yeah, well, that needs to be upgraded.
I was going to say, Mr. Lackley, it's not our first choice to call it the mountain.
We gave it that name a long time ago. So and from the fire services standpoint, we're really happy that it's covered.
Yeah. So
let that sleeping giant sleep.
So the access point for the utilities will be the end of that gravel road. National Grid will pick it up from there. So
they're not planning on upgrading the telephone poles on our road, or every other
This is not going to
site.
get picked up by the town.
It's a large plant. It's a large plant.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't see how those utility poles are out there will support the wiring for this plant.
Well, there'll be
Not the utility poles, I should say. I'm going to say the
infrastructure,
electrical part. It have to be upgraded.
Right.
Well, that's not really. I would just ask on the question to see how they're going to do, because the one they're doing in West Greenwich. Actually, we're doing two. The first one they brought in across telephone poles, and then the one that's being done right now is going underground.
Yeah, I believe that the design for this, and this is subject to National Grid, these aren't decisions that we make, but there'll be 3 poles at the end of that gravel driveway, 3 good-sized poles to set it up. And I do believe that they'll carry it above ground to New London Turnpike.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure that's in place today on that road is sufficient to carry this?
I believe it'd have to be upgraded.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
They have agreed to do
No,
that?
that's not going to go on to
The
the town.
developer will, foot that bill, right?
Okay.
Yeah, they lost that fight in the State House. Yeah.
So all your conduit and everything's gonna be above ground,
Yes.
cable trays and.
Yes. Is it just because of I keep saying the same thing. But yeah, we can't dig, it'll be above the surface.
Okay.
Okay, but the cost to upgrade the utilities to accept the juice, the power, that will not be a burden on the town.
That's correct.
None of this is.
Well, that's what I want to make sure.
None of this is.
Because how we got chewed again by the windmills was, we are the understanding that part of the office was going to go to the town of Coventry.
Well, it does. One of the towers that's on Pacillo's property, the town owns, and we get the benefit of that windmill making power. I can't tell you how it translates to dollars and cents, but that's our windmill.
Okay. All right.
There's 10 of them up there. We happen to own one of them.
Okay. I'm just making sure that this does not become a cost burden to the town of Coventry.
No, it'll generate income
Income.
to the town of Coventry. As soon as it's being constructed and the power provided to the grid, there's a lease payment. That's the arrangement. A lease payment back to the town, and the town council has approved that lease.
Yeah, how long is that? How long's the lease?
I don't know. Mr. Mayman,
Yes.
how long is the lease with the town of Coventry for?
So the lease is 25 years
Thank
with several 5-year extensions.
Yeah, there will be over time. Yeah, at some point.
And this fits within the federal guideline, or certainly moving towards that direction to create as much reusable energy as we can by, was it 2026? We're supposed to be 20 or 30% of our electricity is supposed to be renewable.
Yeah, the state guidelines are even more aggressive than those federal guidelines.
Wow,
Yeah, it's moving in the right direction.
great.
State of Rhode Island has a 100% goal by 2030.
Wow.
Good luck.
There's 1,200 megawatts of offshore wind plant.
Yeah, that's lefty. I'm good.
I have nothing else.
I'm good.
I've asked all
It's
the
a good deal.
questions. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping. You know, that's our intent.
It's like a great project.
Yeah, a good project. All right. John, did you have any questions on this?
Nope, I had nothing more to add at this time.
Okay. I'm going to ask our
Can
solicitor.
I make one more comment?
Yes, please.
I apologize for interrupting. I just want to, the reason that we're seeking a variance for, additional lot coverage is this will benefit the town. The lease revenue is based on the megawatts that we fit on top of that. So, it's just trying to benefit the lease revenue to the town.
Russ,
hang on.
we got to swear you in.
Okay, I need you
Oh,
to
I'm
give
sorry.
full name and address.
Russell Mayman, 394 North Quidnesset Road in North Kingston, Rhode Island.
Can you raise your right hand, please?
Yep.
Is there any way I can see him? Okay, you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in front of this board?
I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So, Russ, yeah, start your statement from the beginning, so we get the whole thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to restate that the main reason for our seeking a variance to 21% is that the idea of this whole idea was to help raise revenues for the town. And the lease rate that we pay the town is based on the megawatts that we install. So again, I just didn't want that to be overlooked. That's the reason that we are seeking the variance.
You're trying to optimize the amount of electricity you're trying to produce for the town's revenues, correct?
Exactly. The more megawatts I can put on the top of that landfill, the higher the lease revenue will be to the town of Coventry.
Okay.
Was the project still viable if you didn't get this extra land? When you look at
Yes,
the-
it is.
Either way, but this
Yes,
just
it
adds
is.
more revenue. Okay. So it's still viable either way.
Either way.
This just adds more. That's good.
Now, our solicitor that's on
Skype.
Skype, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, I do not. This is all consistent with my involvement in the project over the last 7 or 8 years. Thank you.
So you've been involved in this project, so you're well knowledgeable of this in the last 7 or 8 years.
Correct.
So you're very familiar with the capping, how it's happened, and the town trying to optimize the amount of revenues that are obtained from this, correct?
That's correct.
Are we protected if the membrane gets damaged during this work?
Yes, we are. There are warranties in place with Watershed Geo, which is the supplier of the cap itself, and Watershed Solar has also given those assurances. The two businesses go hand in hand. The type of liner that was installed here is specifically designed to accommodate a solar array on top of it like this. So that, coupled with the reputation of Watershed and the contractual provisions they've given us, have satisfied not only us, the town, they've satisfied the larger group of responsible parties who has participated in the landfill closure, private entities, in addition to the town, that this installation will not compromise the integrity of the cap or risk our closure status with Rhode Island DEM.
Thank you.
Will GCA be on site during the construction? You have follow on for that?
I don't think
Other people listen.
GZA has been contracted to oversee the installation, but we do weekly spot checks at the landfill anyway, and we do routine checks of the cap integrity. And then, as Mr. Farside mentioned, there is a warranty that the larger group has purchased on this product. So the cap product itself is inspected by a member of the Watershed organization on an annual basis to look for things like that.
Who's going to do the concrete testing, slump, all
It
that
comes
stuff?
in as it
It's
is.
a block already, so
Yep.
it's just going to be set in place.
Yep.
Okay, so you have specs on all that when it
Yep.
comes in? Okay. Still, I feel more comfortable if GZA was on site. That's a good point. I've done a few of these. Texas Instruments.
I'm sure we could be.
Yeah. It's a liability.
That would be a wise idea. I think wise idea.
I do not disagree at all.
Because if somehow, 5 years down the line or 2 years down the line.
Exactly, that's what
That was.
We don't have the expertise in town to do that.
No.
Excuse me, John, who's gonna ramrod this from the town?
I just want to make a quick point. So this board isn't approving whether or not this application goes forward. That's for the planning commission and the town council. We're simply deciding whether or not the applicant can have 21% lot coverage rather than the required 15%.
Thanks, John.
Can you answer my question now?
So I'm sorry.
Who's heading up the project for the town?
So the applicant, Watershed Solar Development would be
So the town has no
applying.
individual representative.
So the town of Coventry has our solicitor who is in contact with the applicant as our representative, and also the planning commission.
So our engineering department won't have anything to do with this?
Yeah, so during the application process for their major land development project, it's reviewed by planning staff as well as the town engineer.
Okay.
We don't have Who volunteered?
John will run. It's a good project.
It's a big project.
It's a good project, though. Yeah. Smart.
All right, does anybody here would like to speak on this application for or against? I have a question on the application. Again, this scares me. Because within 2 years, we get, oh, we weren't told.
Well, I think the little bit difference is that the West End had been pristine all these years, and now in people's minds, you've got these big, tall windmills, and they didn't really know that much about it. Anybody that's lived in town as long as, well, not as long as you have, but, every time we drive by the dump, and that's what we call it, it's like, now there's a potential that, not only is it closed, but it's gonna be a good deal for the town. I think most people were not here because they're happy that something's actually gonna happen over there.
It's a revenue generator.
Well, on top of that, but it's a, for lack of better words, it's been an eyesore for all of these decades, and now it's going to be able to be, putting the turf on it was huge to start with, but now it's going to be able to generate power. It's going to be a good thing, and I think people are in favor of that. That's my opinion.
No, I don't disagree.
People I've talked to, people keep asking me all the time. They're like, "Hey, what are they going to do up there?" I said they're going to put tennis courts. And people were, I said, no. Well, yeah, it's got all the turf up there, but I think the fact that nobody's here, and I mean, look at the list that we have here of people that butters. If nobody's here, that's got to shout that it's not the same as the windmills. Yeah. The other thing is that, being with the Western Coventry Fire Department, we hear it all the time from some of our residents up there. They're appalled because they didn't know these people were going to get money to have them on their property, and that stirred a lot of hot burn. Yeah. Right now, the only one that's going to make any more than this is us, the town.
Can we make a motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
I make a motion, we vote on the.
I second.
Yep. Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Lenny. We vote on this tonight, seconded by Russ and
Second,
Keith. Okay, seconded by Keith. All those in favor on voting this tonight, say aye.
Aye.
Nays?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Ayes have it.
Sorry, you never officially opened the public hearing. You did
Yes, we did.
ask.
yeah, we did.
Yeah, we do.
We asked if anybody was here that would like to ask any questions about it. All right.
Right.
And then we opened it before we were saying, Coventry Zoning Board of Review is now in session. We closed the Board of Appeal and opened the Coventry Zoning Board of Review. Is
Okay.
that what you're asking?
Yeah, I just figured you need to hold a vote to open public hearing, and rather than just ask the room. But
I don't understand.
if you're okay with it, and
Usually
our council is okay with it.
before us, we ask anybody in the audience if they want to
Mhm.
have any questions.
All right. Yeah, I
We
agree.
don't do it like to open it up to the public, but in effect, we do,
Mhm.
because we're asking for their input.
Okay.
That's the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to do it different,
No, we're good.
No, I'm not into doing it differently. We get held responsible no matter what.
Right.
This is, I'm blaming the new kid. Mike? Sure.
No, we blame the new kid.
Oh,
Blame the new kid.
Proceed.
I'm tired of those jokes.
No, but that's the big thing. I just wanted the board members to know that the decision is their decision. It's not somebody else's backing us. I hate to say it. It's strictly on our own.
I think it's a great project. And
It's not too late.
I would love to see it go forward.
Right.
And hopefully, be a profit to the town. So my recommendation, you send it on.
Plus, we vote on it tonight.
And the planning
We'll call
department
vote on that. Russ, how do you vote on voting on it tonight?
Approve it as presented.
Okay, I also approve as the vote on this tonight is presented. Keith?
Approve as presented.
Okay, Lenny?
Approve as presented.
Mike?
same. Proof.
Okay, now I'm going to do anybody who wish to appeal or not? Okay, if I don't hear anybody. Okay, now I have a roll call vote on the actual application to vote or disapprove as presented. And I'm gonna do a roll call vote on this. Russ, how do you vote on this?
Approve.
Approve as presented.
As presented.
I also approve as presented. Keith?
Approve as presented.
Lanny?
Approve as presented.
Approve. Mike? Approve as presented. Okay. The application is approved as presented.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other business to conduct?
No, we don't.
Thank you. Okay, at this time here, I'd like to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Russ, made by
Second.
Russ, seconded by Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you all.
Carrie, when do we?